He was trying to kill himself by detonating a sticky bomb. Because everybody was really mean to him, so he was trying to leave the area. But luckily, a helicopter was flying above. And then they saw the sticky bomb, and then the cops came after him. He gets pulled over. He says, "Yes, officer." And then the officer says, "Do you have a armed weapon in your truck?" And he says, "No, but bye." And then he starts going as fast as he can. Takes a while to speed. It takes him a while to speed up. He's honking. To, to make it think, to make him think that he was being disrespectful. But he was near the casino, but he didn't want to go because he doesn't believe in gambling. But he does. But he does believe in killing himself. The cops are chasing him down. They corner him in this one place. He jumps out. He falls out of the car and over that guardrail. He starts running as fast as he can. But that was a big mistake because then he got ran over by a car. And then he ate some snacks to heal. And then he got back in his car. And then he started driving again. But the worst part is they sent the military after him too. He got afraid that the sticky bomb would get shot and all the people on the road would die too. But that's not what would happen. And there were helicopters. One barely missed the sticky bomb. He's swerving all over the place because they popped his tire. And he's trying to not make himself skirt all over the place. And then he ends up escaping them, the car cops, not the helicopter. The helicopter is shooting him and his car. And then he gets down a hill and he almost crashes into a tree. And he made it through a tight gap. And then he saw a wooden fence. And then he went through it. And then he saw another fence. And he went through that. And then another fence. And he went through that and then crashed into a car and ended up killing him on accident. He felt terrible. But the cops didn't care. They only cared about him. So a cop rams in his car and then he swerves and then he hops out of his car. He runs away and then he dodges a bullet. He gets back in his car. And then he starts driving as fast as he can. And he ended up killing 2 bunnies. And then he went down a hill and almost died. And then he got exploded by the cops. But it's not over yet. God was grateful. And so if he ever died, he would always just respawn back. So then he called his mechanic to get his fastest car.
You calling for some wheels? I'm Johnny on the spot. I'll hook you up.
He called. He
On
called
the
an
way.
armored car.
Okay, I got stuff to do.
He's waiting for it to deliver. It spawned. It got delivered a little bit far, but he can run to it. And then he saw it in the distance, and then the cops were chasing him down. They didn't have any guns, but he didn't. He didn't have the sticky bomb on it then. And then he ended up putting a sticky bomb on that car. Actually, don't see the sticky bomb. He put the sticky bomb on his car. 2 of them. The cops are chasing him down. He's swerving because they popped his tires again. That's what they're aiming for. He's swerving all over the place, and then he just barely dodges a cop. And then he ends up driving up a hill. But the cops still aren't on him. And then he ends up going down a hill. And another hill. And then he ends up reversing into a car. And the SWAT team show up too. He's trying his hardest to escape him, but his popped tires are making him swerve everywhere. So right now, he's in a bit of trouble. And then he got stuck on a rail, and then he ended up killing a dog. He got stuck on a road fence thing, and then he got off of it, and then he started driving again as fast as he could. He ended up destroying the fence to get through, and then he ended up jumping down that, and then he ended up crashing, and that fence was indestructible. And the cops almost caught up to him, but he was just too fast, and then he crashed. They crashed into his car, and then he wasn't fixed. He wasn't scared. He was just trying to get away from them so he could explode them. And then he went to the sketchy part of town with no cops. They're still chasing him down. He's running through cactuses, and he went over a railroad. And then the cops got ran over by a train and got exploded. But he's just causing ruckus around Los Santos. This sketchy part of town. And then they saw the sticky bomb, and one of them said, "Explode it." But they said don't. And then he went into his garage place. He grabbed out his gun, and then he shot. He shot the cops, and then he ended up driving back out. And they got distracted by one of them got hurt. There was a helicopter nearby. He saw an advantage. And then he got in the helicopter, and then he started to float up. And he could finally escape. But one of the cops hit one of the blades. And then it fell and exploded. He just barely survived it. It went like right on top of him. And then he started to run. Started to drive the
Hey there.
fastest he can.
What can I help you with?
His hood
Oh,
full.
hey. You're in
His
trouble.
engine's exposed.
Okay. I'll deal with it.
He's scared now. He's going as fast as he can. And then he sees an advantage. If he goes up that hill and he shoots the cop that's up there or runs him over, he would get away. He ran him over. He ended up killing the cop, and then more cops came. And then he went up a rock that was like impossible. And then he saw the military base. Or I think it is. He saw the military base and no, that isn't. He saw some place. Thought it'd be good to hide, but he ended up not going there. Because there might be more cops there. There were cops. And there were some military men too there. And he went up that, and he's going up a mountain. And then the cops catch up. He goes up, and then he gets thrown out of his car. And then he gets arrested, but then he breaks out and then explodes him. The end.